gracias. Let me, at the very outset, say that it's a matter of deep regret that I do not speak more Spanish. For Spanish is a very beautiful language, and as a friend of mine told me before I was coming to Mexico, that when one speaks to the ladies, one uses French or Italian. When one speaks to horses, one speaks in German. But when one speaks to God, one speaks in Spanish. Right. Right. Such is the beauty of your language and your scintillating culture, which, like India's own, extends back to many centuries. I would dare say several millennia. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Miguel Morales, my friend, Mr. Javier Orendine, and all of you who have taken the trouble this afternoon to be here today to welcome me to your beautiful land. It is an incredible stroke of luck for me and my wife to be here in your beautiful land so soon after our arrival in Mexico. One of the first things that I heard upon my arrival here from a very delightful meeting that I had with Mr. Javier Orendine was about your mission to India. And knowing how quickly the market for such beverages and alcoholic drinks is growing in India, not necessarily to get drunk, but to enjoy the good life, and that comes naturally with growing prosperity, I personally accord the greatest of importance to your forthcoming visit to India. When the world is still reeling from the financial and economic crisis around us, especially in the Eurozone, I can still see that there are two economies that are growing at a very robust pace. One is Mexico, the other is India. Yours is an economy which is $1 trillion plus economy, growing at 4%, a member of NAFTA with FTAs with more than 50 countries, and I would go to the extent of saying a country with excellent infrastructure, excellent technology, and one which is fast emerging as a manufacturing hub for the rest of the world, notably for NAFTA. India is also an economy that's very large, $2 trillion in size, growing at 6%. We have a very large middle class that's emerging in the country, numbering 300 million people. And therefore, there is enormous potential in India and Mexico enhancing our trade and economic engagement and building not only a privileged partnership at the political level, as was done during President Calderon's visit to India in 2007, but also to build what I would call a privileged partnership at the B2B level among businessmen and entrepreneurs. Since President Calderon's visit to India in 2007, there have been a number of other visits, including that of our own president to Mexico in 2008, and more recently the visit of the Speaker of Parliament to Mexico in 2011. And during Dr. Manmohan Singh, the Prime Minister of India's visit to Mexico for the G20 summit, he had the most productive bilateral discussions with President Calderon, and the two leaders together endorsed the current momentum that we are experiencing in our trade and economic relations. What is outstanding is not just the fact that our bilateral trade is now $4.2 billion US, but the fact that it is growing at 48% per year. That is simply amazing, the growth rate. And even more important than that, the fact that our bilateral trade is more or less evenly matched.
Nuestro comercio bilateral, digamos que está equiparado o nivelado en cuanto a los dos países.
For me, it means that we are operating within each other's comfort zones without necessarily creating any unilateral advantages. There are obviously complementarities in the Indian economy and the Mexican economy that we can mutually take advantage of and grow together. There are already a very large number of Indian companies, and who better than me to tell you, a new ambassador, very eager to learn about the India-Mexico relationship. So therefore I would share with you the fact that many Indian companies are already looking at Mexico as a very, very important economic partner. Likewise, there are a very large number of Mexican companies already present in the fast-growing Indian economy. So when you go to India, for many of you possibly for the first time, please remember that India and Mexico have a great deal in common. We are large, populous countries working to create prosperity for large numbers of our people. We are also countries that share a lot in terms of our cultures. We are family oriented, we respect elders, we respect our joint families and extended families, and we celebrate and rejoice in our art, our music, our dance forms. So let me assure each one of you that I will extend my fullest support to your delegation and its needs and requirements. Please have a good time in India while you are there. Take some time off to see some of our old history, which matches your glorious past. And when you come back, I hope to get some feedback from you, which will help me to plan a very big event that I have in mind for Guardalajara next year. In May 2013, I wish to bring a Made in India show to Guadalajara. And I will stop here for fear of intruding further on your time and on standing in between you and your afternoon repa. But I will, as the Chinese would say, make use of the host's wine, in this case tequila, to drink to your health, happiness, success, prosperity, and to the future of India-Mexico relations and friendship.
Ambassador, what are your expectations for this new job that you have here in Mexico?
Well, I've only been in Mexico for 3 weeks, but I come with a great deal of anticipation and expectation about the tremendous promise that India-Mexico ties have. In the recent past, with the impetus given to our bilateral relations by high-level visits, including that of President Calderon to India some years ago, and the return visit of our President in 2008, more recently our Prime Minister's visit this year for the G20 summit, I think we are set to reach greater heights in terms of our bilateral engagement, whether at the political level, people-to-people level, or more importantly, in the field of trade and economic relations.
What are the same things that you see in Mexico as well in India?
Both Mexico and India are very similar. We are inheritors of a great and scintillating past. We have a grand civilizational legacy on the basis of which we are building our modern institutions and traditions. We are both democracies. We are large and populous countries. And more importantly, we are both growing rapidly. Mexico is growing at 4%. India is still growing at 6%, notwithstanding the effects of the global financial and economic crisis. And more importantly again, our bilateral trade is growing by 48% annually. And this is something that is rarely seen today when the economic times are hard. It is very difficult to find a relationship that is so well balanced between two countries. We are both selling to each other and both importing from each other. So it's a very comfortable relationship, one based on our cultural ties, one based on our friendly ties, and one which is essentially based on the great promise that our ties have for the future.
What do you think now about tequila now that you tasted today?
Well, I had the greatest privilege today to come and visit the Tequila Regulatory Council, and I can only thank the President, Mr. Miguel Anges, for his kindness and generosity in hosting this event, which allowed me to interact with a large variety of tequila producers in Mexico. I'm also very grateful to our Honorary Consul General here, Mr. Javier Orenden, and other friends like Mr. Miguel Anges of the Business Council here. They've made it possible for me to come here, and I'm greatly encouraged by the fact that this tequila delegation is going to India at a time when the Indian market for such products is opening up. I've had the privilege today of actually tasting tequila, and I think the mission's visit to India will be a great success.
One more question. Well, tequila is an appellation of origin of our country. What about your appellation of origin in India? Some of them, like Darjeeling tea. What else do you have, like products like this, like tequila?
Like you have tequila as an iconic product which is associated with Mexico's great culture, in India we have a variety of products. The most famous of these for Indians and for people worldwide is tea. We produce some of the best teas in the world. The champagne of all teas is Darjeeling tea. We have other varieties like Nilgiri and Assam. These are all very wonderful drinks. And we also have, for instance, basmati rice, the long-grained, fragrant rice, which is very popular. We have a patent on that. We also have patents on a number of other products associated with, for instance, the world of pharmacopoeia, like the neem tree, which has many products associated with pharmaceutical products today. So India is also a very large and diverse country with different climatic patterns. We have mountains, we have beaches, we have snow, we have deserts. We have a variety of flora and fauna as well. And I'm sure every Mexican would enjoy visiting India. In fact, it is my ardent desire to see more people from Mexico visit India and see things for themselves. And I also want greater numbers of Indians to come here and be part of this process of engagement in the field of culture and economic ties that we are together fostering and nurturing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Indeed, thank you.